Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on telling your story, content ideas to connect with customers and build your business. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator today and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host, and our presenter is Kate Berg. More on Kate in just a minute, but first some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA, and locally here at SCORE Fairfield County, we have about 100 plus volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. And Kate, if I could ask you to advance the slide, please. We offer three primary value-added services to small business owners. First of all, we offer free one-on-one counseling, and you can do that in person, by face-to-face, telephone, or email. You can also access that by using the yellow bit.ly link that you see on the screen, or you can go to our website and click on the request a mentor link. We also offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars like the one today, roughly 100 throughout the year. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including a network of subject matter experts. Our next live webinar will be next Tuesday, November 9th at noon, and the topic is securing your mobile device with Linda Cupper-Smith presenting. And you can find more specifics on that website, on that webinar on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. If you're on our website, you'll also find there a large number of archived webinars that are on a wide range of business topics that you can view on demand. Just some logistics about today. We have set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation, but I'm sure that Kate would be willing to take Q&A as we go along. And you can do that by clicking on the Q&A button, which is at the bottom of your screen at any time during the presentation, and just typing your question in there. We will end the webinar sharply at 1 o'clock to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next 24 to 48 hours. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Kate Berg. Kate has 25 plus years in technology and strategic marketing, focusing on helping companies grow, go public, and secure venture capital funding. She built 2 social media and mobile-based businesses before 2008. Kate has deep experience in content marketing and influencer communities. And she also built global PR for Gartner in the 90s and helped KPMG Consulting go public. And she's been a SCORE volunteer since 2009. I'll now turn it over to Kate. Kate, it's all yours.
And thank you so much, Bob. I hope everybody can hear me well. I am really glad you guys took time out of your busy day to join us and hopefully get some good conversation going and some good knowledge and ideas flowing around content marketing. I think that as a small business owner, it is anxiety producing to hear and read that one must now, in addition to running the business, become a content publisher. It feels like a pretty heavy lift. Having been there in the past, it got me a little choked up to think about the stress and pressure. But I think it's important to realize that a lot of the content can be quickly integrated into your daily activities once you develop a plan for that. And just to quickly go through talking about what is content marketing, it's really a long-term strategy that uses a different variety of formats of content to build better relationships with people that you want to engage with, who you want to become loyal customers, and also just being top of mind. And I think this is an important point, and it kind of goes to my next slide here, which is to review quickly the digital marketing mix, because increasingly the earned and owned media in this graphic is the ad. Like, in other words, the content that you're creating is the ad. And I think we all, as consumers of social media and digital content, really understand that from the consuming standpoint, meaning, you know, in the fading world of paid click advertising, social media is really taking the place with big brands and small businesses alike, using all kinds of different platforms and messages to create awareness and grow their fan base and grow their audience, sell products directly and other things as well. So this is leveling the playing field for you as a small business. I think it's important before diving into content ideas and telling your story that we really kind of just reflect from a basic marketing standpoint on what are your marketing goals. And generally, businesses are trying to achieve, one of these three goals at any given time. Improving brand awareness through thought leadership, increasing new leads generated through your social platforms and your website, and or improving search rankings for targeted keywords. That's search engine optimization through that content, which is constantly being crawled by the search engine spiders and picking up on relevant content that reflects what your business is about, where you're located, and what your specialty areas are. So those are sort of three goals that you should, sort of be thinking about. And then there are always a variety of questions that you should be asking. And I think primarily I would say one is who are you trying to reach, and what problems are they facing that your company can solve for them, and what kind of content is going to be worth their time, how and where you might be most likely to reach them. And that has an awful lot to do with mobile, increasingly probably mobile only. But I do think mobile, especially when it's in the line of I'm hungry, I want to go eat somewhere, or I want to go buy something right now. What kind of content's likely to make an impact? And can we, and this is an important one for a busy small business owner, can we adapt a single piece of content and use it various places? And I think just a quick review of what's new in content marketing, a continued move toward the personal and the authentic, lighter and more playful and creative content. Video has been for a couple years really becoming increasingly popular, and new platforms, use of humor, video, audio also growing rapidly. I had talked about Clubhouse a few months ago. I kind of would drop that from the list. It seems like it came into full bloom during the pandemic early months, and then I think it has sort of devolved into marketing and sales and different groups who are trying to sell to one another. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend Clubhouse, but certainly podcasts for audio and other great tools. 80+% of web traffic is now video, and that's probably going to remain that way, if not grow even more. And these are some of obviously where you might want to put those, the content that you create, which would be video and images. There's an interesting new partnership between Gannett and Snap that I want to mention to you. It's a parent company of Snapchat. It's called Snap. And it could be a very good and useful thing for your business to take advantage of. They have it's local marketing tools. So I would urge you to go check out Snap and take advantage of their new toolkit in case that might be valuable for you. I think increasingly MailChimp and other companies like that, HubSpot, have bought up or created and added into their suite of services very useful digital marketing tool sets for folks like us, small business owners, really helping to shorten some of the task time. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple different folks that are case studies in content strategy. Don Heyman is an established writer and communications strategist who has been around for many, many years. And as an independent consultant, he's always looking for his next client. So He wants to break through the noise and show value about what he does. He wants to stay top of mind. And so that when a business needs his skill set, they are thinking about Don's business offerings. And he wants to become a thought leader. His chosen platform that he really focuses on naturally, I think, is LinkedIn, because it isn't, it's a business to business sales platform. I think it's pretty obvious why. So what I love about what Don has started to do, he wasn't getting a whole lot of traction in the first years he was on LinkedIn. And then he started, as this slide shows, he started offering what I kind of call free samples of his writing. In other words, he's sharing his wisdom and his ideas, or rather his knowledge about excellent writing techniques, and basically helping people understand some of the things that he offers to clients. He has done this was phase one. This is probably 6 months ago that he put this out. Normally getting at least 20 to 50 likes and at least 10 to 30 comments on each engaging post. And the more personal and more conversation starting that he has become, the more he has gotten lift from this. So this example is the latest one, which was last week. And it was basically talking about, he said, it's been said that Ernest Hemingway was once asked to write a 6-word novel. His alleged response: for sale, baby shoes, never used. Obviously a very provocative and interesting, I've heard that before about Ernest Hemingway's novel idea there. And I think that is what Don is saying. It's succinct storytelling. And so he invited other people to share theirs on LinkedIn. And it was a fantastic conversation that began because he asked people to share COVID memories in 6 words. I just think that conversation is what social media is. And if we're talking predominantly in this session about social, it's really important to talk about the porous nature, the two-way street that your communications should be. A second example is a great brewery and hard seltzer company in Massachusetts called Barrel House Z. And Mary, the marketing manager and actually co-founder of Barrel House, had been getting, I mean, they've got a great following, as you see here on their chosen platform is Instagram, as an established business. But she was slightly burned out on her social program and doing what she was doing, and her growth had plateaued a bit. And so she was looking for ideas, and she naturally had sorted out her goals, her content marketing goals. And she said she really wants to focus on Instagram, continue to do so there. Her audience is there, and grow her audience through, and she's measuring it through impressions and reach, and then building her engagement through the shares, saves, likes, and profile visits. So she established how she was going to measure her improvement. And what we talked about her doing was, and I consulted with somebody who is a real videographer, very expert at marketing. And we came up with the idea of her creating animations featuring their beautifully designed labels. And they were a natural sort of eye-catching element that it lends itself well to the image animations that can be created online. These are done through a variety of outsourced companies. You may know about these already, but they're really used well in stories and reels and other platform offerings. And I think if you Googled animations, you would probably find a couple companies that do it. It's not expensive. It's probably hundreds of dollars, not thousands. And I think the point was we really wanted to see more portrayal of enjoyment of the product and see movement rather than just still images. And so, I mean, I think, you know, you might be able to create something on TikTok, use some clients and, get them either on Instagram or TikTok, whatever you're choosing, get your clients or someone, if you have a visually appealing product, you can do something very artsy, very brief. It does not need to be, a novel. And that's something really important. Short form is your friend. A third case study is a gentleman who is also quite established, been in the business of branding, and had been doing websites for a long time and rebranding companies. And he grew, he's been evolving actually his professional profile. And now he is a brand and story coach. He's still a very great writer. He's a speaker. But what he really wants to do and needs to do is educate his audience and tell his new story. That is his evolving professional profile. And obviously his story is his client's story. So when I say tell your story, it has to be inclusive and should be reflecting the problems that you're solving for clients or the joy you're bringing to clients. But that's your story too. So delivering value through knowledge sharing. He wants to be a thought leader and to really make it a larger than just a tactical writing or a brand exercise. He wants to help people think about how the whole industry and how we are all in the marketing realm and business realm experiencing brands differently, and so that's his thought leadership. And so I include this, which is just a photo I took of his email. He has a great email list, and so why I include Greg is it's an evolution of who he is. He's offering services that are different than they used to be, and he has started a YouTube channel, very easy to do, but in order to drive traffic and to that channel and to get viewership on his short videos about his branding and storytelling, he has just used his very sizable email list, which he has built up over the years. And it's just a clean, short email with his recent video embedded into it. I really emphasize the importance of email still being a centering element in your strategy, your content strategy, because it is readily available to everybody now. Not only is it in my pocket, and it didn't used to be, it used to be on my desktop and I would occasionally log in. It's now in your pocket, and you're also seeing it on many phone settings. When it pops up, you see it real time. I think it's obviously we have a bottleneck as consumers of content. We just can't get to it all, but you can at least get in front of someone, and somebody might be interested to see what kind of information you want to impart via video. I do think this is just so important, consistency. Okay, so anything that you do, it does not have to be complicated, but you've got to stick with it for a period of time. You might take it a quarter or 5 months, 6 months, and say, this is what I'm going to do on Fridays. I'm going to drop an email with a little video message, or I'm going to post a photo about the passionate, maybe I'm a caterer and the beautiful food that I create. Take you very little time, but you're going to post it and it's Fun Friday photo or whatever. It needs to be consistent. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen and that I've suffered personally, is not staying with a tactic that's part of my strategic plan, because I got busy and I fall off. I think people start to expect it or want to see it, and it also just keeps you top of mind. Obviously, any discussion about content has to really include measuring your results and what are you looking at to see how well you have been doing. And you may be looking at increased followers. That's a natural one. The engagement, as we talked about with Don Heyman, his engagement really increased a great deal when he started sharing his knowledge in the way that I showed you. Conversations event attendance. It kind of depends on what kind of business you have, what you might be measuring, or the stage of your business. If you're brand new, you might really just be looking to build that audience and that quarter to quarter, if you can increase that those followings on social and gathering email through your website. Building that database that you own is gold. Oops, sorry about that. A word on ROI is return on investment. Content Marketing Institute's a great resource for you. And I think this is an important one. Unique visits are meant to measure how many individual people viewed your content in a set period of time. This is like a general baseline to measure your content marketing progress. It's important to remember that not all unique visits are created equal. So, I know that the level of knowledge out there is varied, but if you are working with your website developer, or you yourself have the skills, you may know that the quality of your visitors can be impacted by things like the source of traffic and the pages that your visitors are viewing on your website, and the quality of content that they're viewing. So this is what they call sort of stages of the buyer's journey. And it gets a little in the weeds, but unfortunately, we've got to know all this stuff. But Content Marketing Institute's an excellent resource in this topic here. Another one is Social Media Examiner, which I didn't write down, but I would highly recommend that one. They are terrific with short video tutorials that are fun to watch, and you learn so much, and they're very current. That's Social Media Examiner. The last thing I can say is really entrepreneurs who thrive are really embracing the changing environment and learning. And, I have some people in my professional sphere who are in their 70s and who have gone back to school on marketing, so in some cases literally, in other cases just learning and teaching themselves new skills. And they're really passionate about what they do. Obviously, you didn't wake up and say, I want to be a marketer, but you're passionate about your business, and the marketing is your paintbrush. And I think that the good news is that the tools out there are making it increasingly easy for us to tell our story and be authentic and be personal and achieve those goals. So what about you all? I'm intentionally, hopefully didn't go too fast, but I intentionally leave a fair amount of time, and Bob knows this, so that we can have a conversation and perhaps deal with some of your issues and get ideas from one another. And hopefully I can be helpful.
Okay, thanks, Kate. As Kate said, we've left a generous amount of time here for discussion and Q&A, and we'll take as many as we can up until the top of the hour. Just as a reminder, if you have a question or a comment, you can put it in the Q&A, use the Q&A button, and as I say, we'll take as many as we can. Just while we're waiting for a few to come in, Kate, there is one that has come in already from Tess. An early point in your talk today was to ask who your audience is. Ours is people from age 40 to 70. Are you seeing this age group gravitating and reacting to efforts made on social platforms? If so, oops, lost it here. If so, which are the most important ones to focus on?
Oh, great, Tess. Thanks for the question. I think that the answer is absolutely they are gravitating, and it just is it's segmented. So the biggest audience, both male and female, in the middle age, which 40 up to at least, I would say 60. Instagram is absolutely the place that is seeing those numbers very, very strongly. Facebook is all the growth is happening in the 55 and older, for if to the extent that it is growing in the United States. it's all the older folks, of which I am one. I am not a Facebook fan. However, I am, aware that this is the fact and the trend, and I think we all pretty much know that. The LinkedIn is very, very strong in these categories, as well as people have returned from retirement, as people are staying in the workforce longer, and as older workers have realized that they got to get smart on digital. And if, there are always exceptions, but I have been interested to see over the last half dozen years, folks that weren't previously on LinkedIn in the older category, making headway there. So I think, depending on the business, you really have to, you do have to segment and see, you have to segment. Basically, you could probably do well. Let's say it's a consumer offering, and we'll leave LinkedIn off the table for a second. It feels like, Instagram might be a smart play.
Okay, that's great. We have a few more now. One from Christine. Kate, the metrics for websites, I don't really understand how to find and interpret. Do I sign into my website as if I were going to edit it? I think they do provide some metrics, or do I need to use Google?
You do need to use Google, and someone else on this call may also have some tactical knowledge that would be useful as well. But Google Analytics has just a wealth of information that will help you baseline measure, so that you know what you're getting in terms of traffic and where it's coming from and how long people are staying on each page. It's just really useful and important to get familiar with even just a rudimentary set of data. And there's so much information out there, Christine. I urge you to just go onto YouTube. I mean, the largest search engine in the world, we all know, is Google. But the second largest search engine in the world is YouTube. It's owned by Google. And so you can search on YouTube for this topic, and you will, in a half hour, be able to digest more information than you ever thought you could, and you'll be able to understand it. It'll be very clearly laid out for you how to use Google Analytics, what other tools are out there. So I urge you guys to educate yourself, take the time, and you'll be surprised how quickly you'll catch on.
We have one from Marion here, which I think kind of ties into the first one that we had, Kate. It's what do you find the most useful approach for older market targets who are not as familiar with or comfortable with social media?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I think imagery is pretty approachable. I think about people that I know in my own family who are increasingly having fun with imagery, and specifically in the case I'm thinking of, it is Instagram. I'm not meaning to exclude other platforms. But for example, my mom, who will be 94 next week, she's loves the television show Schitt's Creek, and she loves Catherine O'Hara. She thinks Catherine O'Hara is the greatest thing ever. And so she follows her on Instagram. Now, having said that, my mother doesn't even really understand how to, get me up on, I try and explain how to find me if I haven't posted recently. Nonetheless, she follows somebody she loves because they're snarky, silly stuff, I guess, that Catherine O'Hara posts on there. And I think that kind of thing, a photo, that's pretty broadly acceptable or approachable. So it feels like that would be a non-threatening and kind of a good entrance ramp for older targets. Maybe humor and imagery, and very, not video necessarily. But again, I hate to speak in generalities because video is very easy, and there's a lot of jokey video that goes around now with older folks via email. So maybe video is great too. It could be via email.
Yeah, very, very helpful. Here's one from Chris. I have a luxury shoe brand. How do I market to the luxury buyers who might not be on social media as much? And which social media platform would be the best?
Let's see, let me think about that a little bit. Sounding like a broken record, Insta is a great luxury platform. I have a business owner that I mentor, a woman Casey Golden, who has a software for luxury sellers called LuxLock, and she's on Instagram a lot being posted over there. She does cross over into Twitter as well, because Twitter is a supplementary platform for a lot of brands. And also it is felt, I feel like no luxury brand isn't on those platforms, it seems to me, or at least on Insta. Well, now TikTok has really been coming on in the last 6 to 8 months. It's just interesting, like all new technology, the first adopters, the early adopters, are the really young folks, and then it starts to move up the age brackets in mainstream. And that's been the case in technology for as long as IT has been around. So that social media platforms are no exception. They are falling in that same. And that's why, as I referenced, Facebook's growth in the US being really only, mostly in the older categories. Anyway, getting back to TikTok, that has now really become more mainstream just in the last very short period of time. And so I would consider TikTok to be a potential for luxury brands, but I think there's some real research that needs to be done in following around, and there's a lot to be learned. I mean, when I first got on Twitter many years ago, I didn't know what the hell, and it wasn't accessible to me. It's engineer designed, and it's somewhat part of its charm and that simplicity, but a lot of people are vexed by stuff that isn't really clear and easy to use. And I have found Snapchat to be a little tricky to use, but Twitter, I just wound up going on and creating my profile, which takes no time at all, just email and password, and then following a couple of journalists that I thought were smart, who were early on getting onto Twitter, and just watching some of the traffic go by, so to speak. And you can learn a great deal. And then searching on topics via hashtag in Twitter. And so that could, it's a rabbit hole, you got to kind of limit your time, but you could find out a great deal about where your luxury buyers are if you just start to do some research on each of the individual platforms. I would also Google that, because I bet you there's some answers out there that some smart marketing and media folks have already, 10 times better than what I'm telling you, that have already thought about it. That's the one thing I would say that is such a wealth of goodies for us in this content marketing world that we're living in now. It's free content, which is really, like Don Heyman, sharing very important nuggets of information and that would normally, or not normally, formally been paid for only, private information that you'd have to buy a report or something to get. There's still that level of knowledge, which is deeper and more professional, but there's so much great content out there that's helpful for small businesses. I can't tell you how wonderful it is.
Okay, here's one from Monica. When telling your story, what elements should be included? For example, how the business got started.
Oh, wow, I love that. Origin story, always a wonderful thing, because it's your why, right? That's the big, Simon Sinek says, what is your why? Why do you get up in the morning and do what you've chosen to do? And so I think that is the focus, is, how it got started could be, it could have been accidental or coincidental. Somebody might have asked you to do something and you did it and you found out you were really good at it. And so that's compelling. That's interesting. I think it's all, it's all potentially compelling if you can be brief. I think brevity is your friend. You do not want to write a novel. Ernest Hemingway, I think that particular quote was so perfect for him because he was just so incredibly concise in his communication style. And that's what, Don Heyman, in helping his clients figure out how to write good website copy, really smacks it home in terms of just, you might have to write a rough draft and then go back and look at it again and cut out half of the words. And maybe the image tells the other half of the story, evocative image. And if you're listening to me say this and you're saying, oh my God, I don't know how to do that. I didn't go to school for that. There's so much, nothing is new in the world. So go look at other people's feeds that are really sharp, the other businesses, and that you think are really effective and are getting a good following, and just look at how they're doing it. And again, be a witness to it and take some notes, be a student of it. And hopefully that answers your question, Monica.
Here's one from Robbie here on, it's really relating to service providers versus products. How does one tailor one's marketing tactics for service providers versus those selling products? I'm a service provider, also to seniors with declining function, as well as handicapped of all ages and developmentally delayed children.
One's marketing tactics. I'm reading that again,
Yeah.
Bob. One's marketing tactics for service providers. Yeah. Service versus products. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I think you're focused in the services. You're really more focused on the problem and the solution much more keenly, right? I need to find, this is not the case, but I'm just using it as an example. I need to find a good setting for my mom who, has increasing mobility issues. So that's my problem. And I don't know where to find that. If you're a company who can help me find that, solution, or you are the solution, you are the entity, perhaps a home health aid agency or a community for elder adults, you're really focused on I feel like you're better focusing on the problem and the client's pain point, and then the solution, is of course the setting or the professional who's coming to the rescue. I think, as in that, keeping with that example, you might also, and I think secondarily, focus on the product, which would be the great setting of, the elder care community. It's beautiful. It's got, manicured lawns, but, I think that's secondary. I think the important thing is the problem is getting solved by the expert. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, I think it is. It's always a distinction that we all have to make, whether we're selling services or products. Here's one from Joseph. Where's the best place to advertise content about good parental practices?
Well, it certainly seems like people are on Facebook reading all kinds of things. So, I guess that might be a little on, I still think a lot of moms and dads are on Facebook. I just don't think the growth is there. So I want to be clear on talking about that. And I think, I think Instagram would be an interesting place for that. And I think not LinkedIn, I don't think, but for sure, but Twitter is a possibility. One of the things that is important to talk about when we're talking about content strategy is, make sure you're paying attention to your community of interest. So in that example, Robin, I think you're looking at not only what you're providing, but where the people who would be interested in that are hanging. That's the obvious question you're asking. But so you may do some research to see if there are like services in your sector, and what kind of audiences, if you're able to, say, search on a hashtag on Twitter to find some various handles, different companies. I can't think of the name of a company now, but different companies that might be offering those services. So following them, and this goes for Instagram and Twitter. Follow those people, they will follow you back, engage those people. And I'm talking about partners, not clients, not the end client, but people that are in that community of interest. I think that's an important part of the content. And I think if I want to stretch this and think about old school advertising, the analogy or the analogous example would be having partnership, a company partners with another company because they are both after that same client, and they might have a billboard, this school is partnered with this hospital to provide blah, blah, blah. And we're partnering because we're both after you, consumer. So that transports over, into the digital realm. So I think it's important to find that community of interest and be able to be adjacent to it. And maybe you can track down your buyers that way.
Okay. Our next Q&A is from David. In terms of increasing knowledge, are there other resources such as the contentmarketinginstitute.com? That's the one you referred to in your remarks, but I think David's asking if there's any others.
Oh yeah, there are loads of others, but I do think that's a particularly excellent one. Well, I did mention, and I don't know if you got this one, but the social, if you're focused on Social Media Examiner is one of the most no nonsense, providers that I have found. And it's really easy to consume their content. They have really either quick pieces, which are just a couple paragraphs, or instructional videos, which get into the weeds without being a snooze. Like, they're really helpful in that regard. But there are professional organizations that, I would say it's a Google away for you, just to, Google digital marketing, content. I mean, there's no end to it, but I do think, it's important to know the source being of quality. I'm more than happy to share with Bob. I can do a little further research on that and share a list out so SCORE can post it for you guys.
Okay. Here's one on professional services again from Mayo. Suggestions on social media and content for professional services. Do you have any suggestions there? We perform subsurface mapping for engineering and environmental projects is the type of business that they're in.
So wondering where they can find that audience?
No, I think the question is, do you have any suggestions on, what social media platforms and on content that can be used for professional services in that type of engineering and environmental business?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if you have a technical business like that, certainly LinkedIn is a natural go-to there. Twitter might be also. And when you have something that is technical in nature, I think it's important to sort of tell the story from a human client standpoint, and not be focused on necessarily the deep, details of your mapping algorithms or what, in that example, because you never know who you might attract with a more approachable, humanistic way of talking about it. So if I'm clear, I have a friend who actually was a SCORE client, and she's now successfully in her 10th year of business. And she's a real brainiac, went to MIT, has her architectural degree and a degree in human organizational practices development or something. So she has a business that helps organizations, big and small companies, figure out how the environment is affecting the workforce. And I think that's certainly a hot topic right now, post peak COVID. In any case, she will struggle with this because their research and their approach is so geeky that they are talking over a lot of people's heads if they get into the weeds there. So what she's more apt to do now is talk about the general business challenges and how things like, and this always sticks in my mind, their company just redesigned, was involved with the redesign of Lululemon's headquarters up in Canada, I think. And she had things in her brief communique about the phone booth yoga was one of the offerings that was being implemented in the new setting, which is a cute, catchy term, but really what it really was just in a small space, in your small cube or in your office, a 20-minute, video yoga class was being offered as part of this Lululemon, headquarters of things that were really end user general and not pointy head in the weeds, if that makes sense.
Okay. Mayo had a second question, unrelated. She says, I've heard to use your own website link versus Linktree, etc. What is your take?
Oh, that's interesting. Linktree, is Linktree like Bitly?
I'm not sure, Kate. I'm not familiar with Linktree. So.
Okay. So let's, if you want to answer us and just confirm that, but it sounds like it's a Bitly offering, which basically shortens the link. Absolutely your own, absolutely. And always your own, use your own, sorry, Bob, are you going to say something?
Nope, go ahead.
Use your own resources, your own assets. Do not rely on a Facebook platform for, a substitute for your own website or for your own database. You must own all of that and have that and hold it dear. And it doesn't have to be fancy. When you say database, some people are like, well, it's just names and email addresses of your clients and prospects. And it can be kept in, 2 different Excel tabs, prospects, clients, whatever. Own that stuff yourself. And yeah, I do think you definitely want to use your own website link. And another thing about that I noticed is some small businesses have very difficult to remember email addresses. Like my email address is a nightmare, and I would never want to use it for business. It's katetberg7@gmail. I mean, nobody remembers the T, 7, 8, whatever. A lot of businesses don't have a professional domain, address. You must do that. It's very easy to do. It's cheap. Greg Monaco, for example, is Let's Go Monaco. He's got a great last name, but Monaco wasn't available, obviously, but he has letsgomonaco.com, and his email is greg@letsgomonaco.com. Very easy to remember. I don't have to look it up. That's a point which is somewhat related.
Yeah, good advice. Here's one from Loretta. Excellent info, thank you. A question about getting personal. When the business is an organization, not individuals, is it appropriate to get personal, quotes, with the people behind the business's own voice?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's not only appropriate, I think it's sort of de rigueur now. I think it has become extremely acceptable. I mean, if you look at the people out there in the public sphere who are big business leaders, and the level to which some of them are sharing, and I wouldn't say all of them, but I think, rather there are there is a new expectation, and frankly, personal is so much easier to relate to and digest. A business strategy, an organization's mission, awesome, that's great, but I also really want to understand the why. And the why is generally an incredibly important set of details about someone's personal battle with cancer, and they then decided to form an organization to fight, and raise money to help other people battle that disease. And so that personal journey story would be, I think, an example of what you're talking about, and would be very compelling. And it's not everybody's comfortable with that. And so I did make a note before this session, because I say personal and authentic, but some people are shy, and some people aren't comfortable with that. Or you may feel that the head of your organization or the leadership may not want that. I think then there are other options. You can feature the team. Some members of the team might be extremely okay with putting themselves out there. Maybe they're really good at all these social platforms, and they would like to be, and you might have a couple of people. And that's what a lot of businesses do. They will appoint someone, and they can be the voice, they can be the face, and also your clients, as previously discussed. The end, recipient of the goodness that you're bringing. That is part of your story, because those are the reasons that you started doing what you're doing.
Here's a question from Sarah along the same lines. As the US distributor of a new sustainable product that is based in the UK, how much of myself should I include in my content? Is my authenticity important to US customers, or should I focus on the authenticity of the UK company?
Well, that's an interesting one. Bob, where is that? I don't see that.
It's in the Q&A tab.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I just want to read that again so I understand.
It's from Sarah.
Okay. That might be, Sarah, one of those examples of a little experimentation may be in order. You may want to share it. And I think it is appropriate, because you're both an important element in the story, and the sustainability, but you're the ambassador of that offering. So I think, sometimes it's helpful to put a couple of things together and run them by your own little focus group of, I would say, people that can be objective for you, and not your, your mom. I think that, and just ask a few people and run a little, say, does this feel like the right tone? Ask for help. I mean, sometimes we have to kind of noodle around and maybe even test some things and see, A/B testing. I don't know if you've heard that term, but it's a term used in email marketing, when marketers try one headline out and then another headline out and see which has a better open rate, and that's A/B testing. So you might want to try something like that.
Okay, good suggestion. Here's one from Lucinda. I would like to solicit more stories from existing customers who use our products so that we can post them. Is there a diplomatic way to ask for stories? Are there privacy issues, meaning is it okay to use someone's name, or do you have to get permission from the customer for legal reasons?
Oh, you definitely would want to get permission. I would leave out a last name unless they're okay with it 100%. And I would say diplomatic way to ask is I think it's dependent upon the relationship that you can build, a relationship of trust. And if that trust, and I'm presuming you have enough of an opportunity in the sales cycle and in the service setting to have a relationship of substance, then it becomes not so much diplomacy as just a request. And I think a loyal customer, time not, withstanding, would of course want to help you. I mean, this is what we do when we review things after, an offering, after a service. And so maybe that is something I might want to point out. I mean, ratings and reviews are content, and we don't have time to talk about all the different kinds of content, so I didn't cover it today, but that is content, and it's incredibly important content. Did you write it? No, but your clients did. And so one of the things, for example, I recently renovated my home, and we used a kitchen design company in Greenwich. And just as soon as the house was completed, I got a postcard in the mail, a glossy, oversized postcard. Yes, direct mail lives. And it was a goofy picture of the guy who runs the business called Amazing Spaces. And all it asked on the back, it said, it asked for a Google review. And I had it in my hand, and I did it, and it took 2 minutes. And I thought that was really smart.
Yeah, I think they really help. Here's a follow-up one from David relating to one earlier question. My audience is 95% millennial. Would your comment on Facebook being over age 50 suggest that Facebook is a waste of time for that audience?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the oldest millennials are approaching 40. They're not on Facebook.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, the only time they're on Facebook is for their 10th high school reunion or whatever.
Okay, we got time for one or two more. Here's one from Robert, who joined the webinar a little bit late. He is a very new entrepreneur and operates a digital marketing agency getting started. Single mom and teenage son are partnering together to get our family financially independent, trained a bunch. Any suggestions for getting ourselves out there other than the usual Facebook ads, et cetera, for lead generation, and how to package that story? So a lot in there, and that's in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. A digital marketing business is a new business. That's the challenge, Bob.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
kind of how to get the word out there, right? Other than the typical Facebook ads.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I would say you've got a pretty broad audience of potential clients, right? We can't necessarily segment out anyone. I would say, one thing that I think is important to talk about is while I'm not a fan of Facebook, there are Insta and Facebook both have boosting capabilities and excellent targeting capabilities. I mean, you can target incredibly well, and so you could spend a little with, or you could do organic posts, but you can also then spend up to see if you can get some real lift off of any particular posting. And one idea I thought of when you first when Bob was reading your question is, if you're new, you can you might take a page from Don Heyman's example and do something like a better best, like somebody's no, that's kind of tricky. Sorry, forget that. Digital marketing, maybe you offer something of value, which would be an audit of their website to see how it could be improved for SEO. So that would be something that you're offering for free, and maybe you can get some interest there as you're new in the market. That might be something. Building your thought leadership up. And so, I have some professionals in my realm who have done a beautiful job of becoming the go-to resource for topic A or B. And so I have a real estate agent friend who years ago understood the value of building her thought leadership. And she she's a broker in residential and commercial real estate in Stamford, but she's had an email list that's a substantial one, and now has translated that over to social platforms as well. But she talks about the business. She sends out a regular email for a long time now on the business environment in Stamford and the Fairfield County in general sometimes, but more focused on Stamford business environment and how things are going. And it's very interesting information. It's not that hard for her to collate that, collect that information. So you might want to think about doing something not long or too excessively long, but you could do a brief email with some links for further info out to the stuff you find online or your own content on your website, probably better. Post a kind of an attention grabbing image or something on various social platforms and direct them to your website. And you can measure, obviously this is your business, you can measure what platforms are pulling in any interest, what type of image or content, and you can just test the heck out of that, because as a new offering, you've really got to kind of throw everything at the wall.
Okay. Fortunately, we are out of time. So that's all the questions we have time for today. Just as a reminder to everyone, the webinar has been recorded and the materials will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next 24 to 48 hours. Our next live webinar will be next Tuesday, November the 9th at noon, and the topic is securing your mobile device with Linda Cuppersmith presenting. And again, you can find more specifics on that on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. Again, if you want to take advantage of free individual counseling, you can use the Request a Mentor link on our website. And if I could also ask you to please fill out your evaluations that are being sent at the end of the webinar. And on behalf of SCORE, thank you all for attending our live webinar today. And in closing, a big thank you to Kate for presenting today. And stay well, everyone, and have a great day.